talk about the issue of education, so many times it's hard to get parental involvement when it comes to being involved in schools. And so many times it's hard to really fill the gaps between a parent and a teacher, trying to also find out how to do the best thing possible for students. But I want to introduce you to an organization that has actually got students, parents, teachers, and the school system at heart, Linked Education. And joining us now in studio is Walter DeLuz, who is a board member of Linked. And we thank you so much for sharing with us.
Thank you for having me.
Good to have you. For those people who want to know a little bit more about Linked, let's talk about Linked and how you guys got linked up.
Well, basically, Linked Education started as a conversation between two friends, Rachel Beard and Anna Markowitz, who were in the Teaching for America program. They looked at the fact that New York is a really vibrant community with a lot of people who want to help education. Teachers, nonprofit groups, principals. They all want to do the best, and they all have a great idea, but putting the right people together is very hard. So they started with the idea of putting together a website where people could go to if they have an educational question. But from that, we realized we're still missing the boat. We need to actually bring these people together into one room so they can talk to each other. That's why we host educational expos that really focus on K-12 in New York City, the biggest population of students that really can benefit the most from the energy that exists in different communities and in different groups that really want to help make sure kids have the best education possible.
Mm-hmm. From K-12, that's a large variety of needs. What are some of the major things that you find where there needs to be a filling of the gap, if you will?
Well, I would say two of the biggest issues that occur across the ages would be how the arts are disappearing in schools, because for a lot of kids, that's the reason to go. Mm-hmm. I mean, we all know you have to go to school. You have to learn. But if you look at the dropout rate in New York City, it may be something you know, but it's not keeping kids in buildings. So we work with a lot of arts programs that, for a large part, are either free or low cost to schools to replace that part of their budget that they lose as the city gets into a crunch. Mm-hmm. And then for older kids, your middle schoolers, your high schoolers, that beginning of financial awareness, because as college looms, or as you decide you're not going to go to college, you really do need to learn how to take care of yourself. And as an adult, that's financial responsibility. So there are groups like Common Sense that will go into high schools. They're looking at a middle school program to work with the kids that really do want to learn something about that so they can take responsibility for themselves.
So when you talk about this conversation that was had by two people that started to get Linked going, and then of course it formulates, walk us through the process of how you guys got all parties involved in connecting the groups.
I will say the biggest thing that was the source of our success is the fact that everybody put their feet on the ground and went to people. So even before starting to write any code for a website, Anna and Rachel reached out to almost 300 nonprofit groups to find out what they do and if they'd have an interest in putting themselves out under one umbrella. Mm-hmm. Also, because they're in Teach for America, they reached out to the teachers that they knew and the principals that they were working with and the recruits to that program. So basically, by having that conversation with a lot of people, there was an aha moment each time. There is a need to create an easy place to go to. Like nowadays, if you want to find something, my son, who's 11, told me, we just need to go to Google.
Right.
We wanted to create something like that, but for education. Because one truism of education today is nobody has any time. We're all New Yorkers. So if you've got 2 minutes to address a problem or a new project for your school, you want to go to one place, get 3 places to call maybe, and make those calls right now to change something in your school.
The website, and I mean, we'll throw it up in a little bit, but when people get an opportunity to scroll through the website, what are they going to be able to find?
Well, one of the first things that we did that I really feel is innovative is we started with a map, because New Yorkers want to know, what can I do in my community? So if you're in the Bronx, you can click on the Bronx. You don't even, if you're not too sure what internships are available in my neighborhood, you don't have to look for internships, although you could. You could click on the Bronx, see 4 or 5 or whatever groups in the Bronx immediately, and then see what makes sense. So depending upon how you like to search, you'll find information. The other really important thing that we offer is a calendar, because in New York City there are a lot of events where a lot of people who have knowledge are willing to share it. So to know where you could spend maybe the 2 hours one week that you have to learn something about maybe changes in DOE policy. You'd go click on our calendar and you'd see, oh, okay, that meeting's happening on Thursday.
Mm-hmm. community board, I mean, not community board, but school board meetings, things of that nature?
Things like that, but also some of the events that are going on, both ours and hosted by other groups. I know that there are some community groups that will host education sessions about, I know in Brooklyn, for example, there's a group named Fury, and they will put out stuff about urban development because they're about responsible development in their community, and so they want to make sure that people know what's going on around them. So even those smaller events that may only interest you if you're there, because again, those are in some ways the hardest to find, because you can walk past a storefront and never realize those people help with tenants' rights, or those people would help give me after school for my kid, because I wasn't looking for it.
What are some of the biggest needs that you're assessing that are coming out of your association with both parents and teachers?
Teachers, I would say a lot of them find that projects like leveling classroom libraries, where it's about making sure books are appropriate at different parts of your curriculum and things like that, that's very labor intensive. One of the groups that we work with called Innovative Teaching has a project where through the web, teachers from all across the country can help with that project. So if you're a third grade teacher and you've leveled 20 books, because that's what you're able to do one day during a professional development, well, if we got 100 from around the country, that's what, 2,000 books? So that's a great free resource that this group offers, but they're really about how data can impact education. So they also have a very interesting product that helps keep rubrics quickly and on a way that you can analyze at home as a teacher on an Excel spreadsheet very quickly to keep changing your curriculum to meet the specific needs of your children.
So you can become actually relevant through this.
Exactly. So things
Or
like
stay
that.
relevant,
A lot
should
of
say.
the, I mean, there's a lot of data focus, especially with all the testing that goes on and the department that seems to be growing in the Department of Education, which is the Office of Accountability. So all that numbers crunching in education has to get managed and has to become relevant to the kids in the classroom, or it's just something that your bosses are asking you for. So how can that affect your day-to-day and hopefully affect the education of your kids in a positive way?
When you talk about children, I want to get in there. There's so many needs on the front. I think that one of the things that we're facing right now is, and we spoke about it earlier, was the needs for arts and education and things of that nature. Are there alternatives that you can tap people into as opposed to, if I'm not going to get it through the school system, here's where you go?
Absolutely. And that is one of the strengths of the expo that we host, is parents can literally walk through a room and meet programs and talk to their directors or their representatives to find out which is the best for their child. There are some that focus on a school experience. For example, there's a group that's been a longtime friend of ours called the Striking Viking Story Pirates. They work with elementary school kids and they literally dramatize stories written by the kids. And it's such a joy to see maybe a second grader watch a story up on stage that they wrote. And if you look through our site and you find them and go to the link, there's a great video of one called Why Would You Do What a Dog Does? Which is basically one day the kid was following the dog, doing everything the dog did, and their parents were yelling at them for eating off the floor and all this kind of stuff. And the kids are rolling watching this. So that link between your imagination to something up there to something that gets shared with your community. So writing isn't just what you do because the teacher tells you, but it can be fun, it can be creative, it can be shared.
And we're walking a little bit through the website right now. You see a little bit about it, and there you see that you have the opportunity to click on schools and see a little bit of the highlights, and you got 2,600 schools there, huh?
That's because we have a relationship with greatschools.org. They have been rating schools for a long time, and when they heard what we did, they wanted to support us, and they wanted to also help themselves get their message out there. Because again, we haven't really created any solutions. You notice it's a very clever idea. We're just going to help you find the people who do have it. Because if someone has spent years building up a network of school reviews, why should we start one? Why not make sure that that information is there for you easily? Likewise, you saw the map that I spoke of, and on the very far right was a place where if you're interested in going to the expo, they are free to attendees. Just click and RSVP that you're going to be there, and we'd love to have you.